Ripple CTO David Schwartz announced an awesome news. Want to know more? Watch till the end to know it all. Hey people, welcome back. In today's video, we will be looking at the latest updates on Ripple and the awesome news the CTO of Ripple shared about the platform. But before we start, make sure to enable all your notifications to our channel to keep up with all the hottest secrets in the world of XRP. According to XRP.org, the negative UNL is a component of the XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol that improves liveness, or the network's capacity to move forward after a partial outage. Servers update their effective UNLs using the negative UNL, based on which validators are currently online and functioning, allowing a new ledger version to be declared validated even while numerous trusted validators are unavailable. By the way, this feature will be a big game changer for XRPL's UNL progression. CTO David Schwartz said of the news that the negative UNL amendment would be implemented in November 2020.
You serious?
According to XRP.org, the negative UNL is a list of trusted validators that have been declared down or malfunctioning by a consensus of the surviving validators. Validators in the negative UNL are not taken into account when deciding whether a new ledger version has reached consensus. Except for improving the network's ability to declare outcomes definitive during particular sorts of partial outages, the negative UNL has no effect on how the network processes transactions or what transactions' outcomes are. Validators might fall offline for a variety of reasons, such as software updates, device maintenance, or network issues. This change allows for more flexibility in the quorum for validations throughout that time period. The negative UNL is a feature of the XRP Ledger Consensus Protocol that improves liveness, or the network's ability to move forward in the event of a temporary outage. Servers change their effective UNLs using the negative UNL based on which validators are currently up and operational, allowing a new ledger version to be deemed validated even if numerous trusted validators are unavailable. Except for improving the network's ability to declare outcomes definitive during particular sorts of partial outages, the negative UNL has no effect on how the network processes transactions or what transactions' outcomes are. Each server in the XRP Ledger protocol has its own UNL, a list of validators it trusts not to collude, and each server decides when a new ledger version is validated based on consensus when enough of its trusted validators agree.
Agree to disagree.
A quorum is established when at least 80% of trusted validators concur. If more than 20% of trustworthy validators go offline or are unable to communicate with the rest of the network will stop validating new ledgers since a quorum cannot be reached. This is a deliberate design choice to ensure that no transactions' results can be modified after they have been declared final. The remaining servers would remain online in such a case and could offer historical and tentative transaction data, but they would be unable to validate the final, unchangeable conclusion of new transactions. However, if a few widely trusted validators were unavailable, the network's forward movement may be halted. As of 2020-10-06, Ripple's suggested UNL has 34 validators. Thus, if 7 or more of them go down, the network would stop moving forward. Furthermore, if 1 or 2 validators are unavailable for an extended period of time, the network has less space for disagreement among the remaining validators, making consensus more difficult to obtain. Many things can cause a validator to become momentarily unavailable, including device maintenance, software upgrades, internet connectivity problems, targeted attacks, human mistake, hardware failures, and outside circumstances, such as natural disasters. The negative UNL is a list of trusted validators that have been declared offline or malfunctioning by a majority of the remaining validators. Validators in the negative UNL are not taken into account when deciding whether a new ledger version has reached consensus. When a validator on the negative UNL returns online and delivers consistent validation votes, the remaining validators quickly remove it from the negative UNL.
It's negative.
When 1 or 2 validators go down at a moment, the remaining validators can use the negative UNL to progressively alter their effective UNLs, allowing the network to reach quorum with only 80% of the validators online. The quorum has a hard minimum of 60% of total validators to prevent the network from fragmenting. If more than 20% of validators fall offline at the same time, the remaining servers will be unable to establish the quorum required to validate a new ledger, and no new ledgers will be validated. However, Through subsequent consensus rounds, those servers can still make cautious forward progress. The remaining validators would continue to apply changes to the negative UNL to the tentative ledgers and adjust their effective UNLs over time. If the situation remained, the network may start fully validating ledgers using the amended. The negative UNL is intimately linked to the consensus process and is built with safeguards to keep the network up and running in the event of a disaster. The negative UNL is underused and has no effect when all trustworthy validators are behaving appropriately. The negative UNL rules kick in when some validators appear to be offline or out of sync. To avoid any time-based debates regarding which negative UNL should be applied to a given ledger version's consensus process, the negative UNL is designed to change slowly. A UNL is a list of validators that each server in the network trusts not to collude.
Trust is life.
Each server uses a single statistic to assess the trustworthiness of its trusted validators, the proportion of the last 256 ledgers in which the validator's validation vote matched the server's view of consensus. This reliability metric assesses the availability of a validator as well as its behavior. If the reliability of a validator is less than 50%, it is a candidate for inclusion in the negative UNL. A validator's reliability must be better than 80% to be removed from the negative UNL. Each server calculates dependability scores for all of its trusted validators independently, including validators. Different servers may come to different conclusions regarding a validator's reliability, either because the validator's votes reached one server but not the other, or because they disagreed more or less frequently on specific ledgers. A consensus of trustworthy validators must agree that a given validator is above or below the reliability threshold to add or remove it from the negative UNL. If the ledger index is evenly divisible by 256, the ledger version is designated a flag ledger. Only flag ledgers can change the negative UNL. UNL modify pseudo-transactions are proposed for adding and removing validators from the negative UNL. In the same way that other pseudo-transactions, the consensus mechanism determines whether each pseudo-transaction obtains consensus or is discarded.
So no pseudo.
No pseudo.
To put it another way, for a validator to be added or removed from the negative UNL, a majority of servers must agree on the change. The negative UNL object in the ledger state data keeps track of scheduled and effective modifications to the negative UNL. The negative UNL cannot reduce the quorum requirement to less than 60% of the total UNL entries to avoid the network from fragmenting into two or more subnetworks. To enforce this, a server deems the negative UNL full if the number of validators on it equals 25% of the validators in the server-specified UNL. The 25% is based on the assumption that removing 25% of validators results in an 80% consensus of the remaining 75%, which equals 60% of the original figure. If a server believes the negative UNL is full, it will not suggest any additions. Nevertheless, as is customary, the final decision is determined by a consensus of trusted validators. Depending on the reliability criterion, various validators may be candidates for inclusion in the negative UNL. Servers must choose which validator to suggest adding to the negative UNL because only one validator can be added at a time. If a flag ledger contains numerous candidates for removal from the negative UNL, servers use the same procedure to pick between them. Validators in the parent ledger's negative UNL are disabled during the validation step of the consensus process. Each server generates an effective UNL by subtracting the disabled validators from its specified UNL and recalculating its quorum. Servers track validation votes sent by disabled validators for the purpose of computing the disabled validator's dependability measurement, but they do not use those votes to determine whether a ledger version has reached consensus. With that being said, we have come to the end of the video. We also want to let you know that this video is purely for entertainment purposes and does not offer any financial advice. It is always best to do your wide-spectrum research before investing. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. See you again with another video. Until then, bye!